Viewer contributions make local programming possible on WNIN. Become a member of WNIN with your contribution so we can continue to make this programming available. Visit WNIN.org and click on the donate button.
It's the Friday Wrap on WNIN FM. I'm John Gibson. Thank you for joining us on this Friday. Well, we're about 9 months out from Indiana's May primary, and there's word of an Evansville Democrat seeking the 8th District congressional seat currently held by Republican Mark Messmer of Jasper. Joining me now is Tom Langhorne. He covers politics for the Evansville Courier and Press. Tom, good to have you with us again.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you here. Well, Tom, I believe you broke the news this morning about this candidate. Can you tell us who it is?
Mary Allen, an at-large Democratic member of the Evansville City Council, elected in 2023, is going to run for the 8th District seat in Congress, according to our sources. There is a Mary Allen for Congress website that actually hasn't launched, but you can go to it and get a message that it's going to launch soon.
Mm-hmm. And, that's a pretty good indication, huh?
It is. And when I asked Dave Crooks, the chairman of the 8th District Democratic Party, about Allen's campaign, I was talking to him by text, and I got a smile with sunglasses emoji. And he said he would check with the campaign, and he later asked me to identify my source, and a few minutes later he texted me that Democrats are excited to have a viable candidate, but he didn't identify Mary Allen. So it seems apparent with this information and information from sources that I have that Mary Allen will run for Congress.
Yeah, now Allen is a newcomer to the city council, right?
Elected in 2023.
Yeah.
As you know, the Democratic wave in city elections that happened that year.
Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about her businesses, her background, that kind of thing.
Well, she's a resident of downtown Evansville at the moment, and is the owner-operator of 6th and Zero, which she calls a business committed to sustainability. And she's the co-owner of Virginia Street Properties and founding member of the Haney's Corner Art District Association, and touts herself as a mental health advocate who helped in the initial launch of the E is for Everyone initiative. And she's very involved locally and is familiar to local Democrats. And I'm sure that, the 8th District Democrats have told me before, and I've written about it, that they value somebody with political experience. They were searching high and low for a candidate for Congress to challenge Messmer, and there were reasons for that. Reasons why it is difficult to find a candidate on the Democratic side.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Indiana's 8th District is a historically tough place for Democrats to win, right?
Well, especially in recent years. Brad Ellsworth won it in 2006 and as a Democrat and held it for 2 terms, but the district has been redistricted since then, and it has become one of the most Republican congressional districts in the country. And on a federal level anyway, in Southwest Indiana, Democrats have not been very competitive in recent years.
Yeah. So I'm guessing Allen faces quite the challenge.
Right. It wouldn't only be that, but running for office in a 21 county congressional district is a big job. The district chairman for the Democrats has told me flat out, if you want to work 40 hours a week at your job, running for Congress is not for you. The district goes all the way from southern Posey County up to the Illinois-Indiana border to the top of Fountain County. And there are 21 counties. Largest by far is Vanderburgh County. It also includes Warwick, Gibson, and Posey. Yeah. There's about 757,000 people who live in the 8th District. And so you have to generate millions of dollars in campaign funds to compete in the Evansville and Terre Haute media markets.
So now we could point out that Mesmer has been a target of some of the anti-Trump protests we've seen in the area. Is there any data on how Mesmer is doing among voters in the 8th District?
I know no polling data about Mesmer in particular.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of advantages in any election, and you can presume that having only been elected himself in 2024, it would be very unusual for a House member to step down after one term. Mm-hmm. I will tell you that he has still an open fundraising account with the FEC.
And, well, that tells you something, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He's been raising money.
Well, as a first-term representative, does it make maybe some sense to try to challenge him now? Is this maybe the best time to try to unseat a congressperson?
Well, I can tell you that when Larry Bucshon was elected to represent the 8th District in 2010, Republican Larry Bucshon, mm-hmm. the Democrats came in 2012 with Dave Crooks, who was a state legislator, and he's the current chairman of the 8th District Democratic Party. And mm-hmm. and Crooks campaigned hard, raised a lot of money, and he lost. He ended up losing. I think it was by 10 or 12 points, but that was the most serious campaign you could argue that Democrats launched against him. They did continue to try, but they never came closer than that.
Yeah.
So there's logic in that if you're going to pick off an incumbent, do it earlier in his career before, the incumbent is able to build up more and more support.
All right. Well, Tom, anything else to add on this topic that we haven't touched on?
Apparently there will be an announcement, a formal announcement on Wednesday, mm-hmm. At which Mary Allen will formally announce her campaign. But the news is out there now on the Courier and Press today.
Yes, indeed. This is the Friday Wrap on WNIN FM. I'm John Gibson. We're speaking to Tom Langhorne of the Evansville Courier and Press. You can find his stories at courierpress.com. Well, Tom, let's move on to another story you authored this week about 1,000 EVSC educators who received teacher appreciation grants in the past will get nothing under a new state budget formula. Can you tell us a little bit about these TAG grants and why they're not going to be available?
Well, they're stipends to reward teachers for being good teachers. And, in years past, the past several years, most of EVSC's workforce of about 1,400 teachers, well, it's since 2016, in fact, mm-hmm. have received these annual TAG grants of a few $100s. Within EVSC, highly effective rated teachers would get $548 and something, and those rated effective got $438. And so most EVSC teachers were getting that, about 90%.
Yeah.
And
now how have those local teachers used the money?
Well, I mean, the answer is different for every teacher, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. It's considered, a good benefit that they have. But what has happened is that the state budget that went into effect on July 1st totally, scattered that formula into the wind, and it now offers large stipends of up to $7,500 for teachers who are designated by school districts or charter schools as exemplary plus. And those who are rated exemplary will get up to $5,000, and there's a third stipend called the recognition stipend of $3,500. Far larger amounts, but there's just one catch. Only 20% of teachers at most in any school corporation or charter school can get these stipends.
So essentially more money going to fewer teachers.
Right. That means at least 80% of EVSC's teacher workforce, which is about roughly 1,120 teachers, will get nothing. And under the previous formula where they rated them highly effective or effective, only about 140, 150 teachers were getting nothing.
I see. So how has the Evansville Teachers Association and the EVSC responded to this change?
Well, the Teachers Association and the Indiana State Teachers Association's local field rep are very concerned that this will create resentment among the great majority of teachers as they go into bargaining for a new contract this fall. They would be, most of them, according to the Teachers Association, they'd be starting already about $500 behind.
Yeah. Do we know, are there any funding sources that could possibly replace this grants? Any way that perhaps this money can be, replaced for local teachers?
I do know that they're going into bargaining for a new contract this fall, and
right.
It's possible that the issue will come up then.
Mm-hmm.
But there's lower state revenue now, looming reductions in property tax revenue, as we know. So, according to the teachers union, this comes at a really bad time.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tom, anything else to add on this story that we haven't touched on?
Well, the Teachers Association believes that there's a legislator, State Representative Bob Banning, Republican of Indianapolis, who is the driving force behind this. Mm-hmm. Banning is a veteran legislator and a longtime chairman of the House Education Committee, and I was not able to make contact with him, but Banning has made public comments about this, and, basically he says that, in fact, his quote was to the Terre Haute Tribune-Star. He said, "We decided we wanted to focus and recognize the brightest and best educators that are having an impact on student learning in our schools." And he said that, many teachers do contribute to student success, and his comment was, clearly by data, we can tell who really has an impact. However, what that data will be is not entirely known at this point. The state says that the state education department will put out more information about the specific criteria in the next few weeks.
Yes, indeed. Well, I guess the word is stay tuned. That is Tom Langhorne of the Evansville Courier and Press. He covers politics. He covers education. You can find his stories at courierpress.com. As always, Tom, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's the Friday Wrap on WNIN FM. I'm John Gibson. Good to have you along on this Friday. Well, the heat wave is finally over in the tri-state. The Weather Service says we saw 15 straight days of 90-plus degree heat and triple-digit heat index values. It all meant taking safety precautions for the most vulnerable and those working outdoors. WNIN's Ella Nelson filed this report.
Ready? Up, 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 up. Down, 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 down. Up, 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 up. Down, down. Now ready for this?
Patty Tapp with the Easter Seals Early Learning Center in Evansville is leading a group of children up to age 6 in a parachute activity in the big hallway. It's nice and cool inside the Early Learning Center, but outside there's an extreme heat warning with a real feel of 104 degrees. It's their policy to cancel outdoor activities during a heat index over 95 degrees. Ann Feldhaus, director of children's programs, says their teachers pivot to these indoor activities in a heat wave.
We can set up obstacle courses, different things like that out there that would just allow some of that active play to take place. I think here locally we are hitting a record. We're breaking a record of how many consecutive days of high heat we have had for the month of July. So yes.
Evansville has been under an extreme heat warning since July 28th, with a heat advisory since July 22nd. A cold front is expected to break the heat wave on Thursday. Meteorologist Jonathan Weaver with 44 News says there's multiple reasons for the current heat.
Well, we're right in the middle of summer, and July and August tend to be the hottest time of year for average high and average low. We get this Gulf moisture that comes up, the Mississippi River Valley, the Ohio River Valley, so it's just a clash between the tilt of the earth, the Gulf moisture, and that sun angle.
The CDC says more than 700 people die from extreme heat every year. Chad Buttry is an incident safety officer with the Evansville Fire Department. He says dehydration can lead to heat cramps and heat exhaustion, which can leave people confused and fatigued.
Then you can go to heat stroke, which is obviously more of an issue in that there can be loss of consciousness, more severe results that could result in you being transported to the hospital. So we try to get it out to our staff and any of the community that mind where you are, try to stay out of the heat if possible. Hydration is the key, and you need to start hydrating the day before any type of activity.
Buttry says the EFD uses a mobile rehab unit to keep their firefighters safe while battling a blaze in heavy turnout gear. The rehab unit has water, misting fans, and a place to cool down on the job.
And our job is hot on a normal day. Temps like this exacerbate it to the point where we have to be very cognizant of what's going on with our crews.
Buttry says firefighters have been treated on scene for mild heat-related illness, but not heat stroke.
He was rolling around on the floor, and he probably shouldn't have been, and somebody stepped on it. So that's what happens sometimes.
Patty Tapp is washing a child's hands in the classroom sink. Easter Seals has built-in water breaks throughout the day to keep kids hydrated.
Is it raining in here? Is it raining?
Ann Feldhaus with Easter Seals says young children are more vulnerable to extreme heat and cold than adults.
They actually, because of their small body size, they get both hotter and colder than an adult would. So it is something that we have to monitor. So you'll see them come in, and they, even on a day when it's not so hot, and they may be flushed, where an adult may not be, they may be sweaty.
Meteorologist Jonathan Weaver says the temperature will slowly decline as we lose daylight, but he believes there's still a few months before it really cools down.
September traditionally has been a hot month too, so it's really until like that first full week, usually right after Fall Festival, is when things start to cool down.
For WNIN News, I'm Ella Nelson.
And Ella joins us live here on the Friday Wrap. Ella, good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, since you filed that report, the heat wave has broken.
Yes.
Maybe you can give us a little context here. Where did it sit historically?
Well, historically, 1930 has the hottest day. Evansville's hottest day was in 1930, July 28th, and that was the longest heat wave in Evansville, too. They recorded 22 days of having 90-plus degree temperature days. And then the next one is like 1936, then 2012. So we're not really quite up there with this past one, but it was still definitely hot.
Certainly was.
Yeah.
As I understand it, the National Weather Service reported essentially 15 days in which at least the region, got up above 90 and triple-digit heat values. So now I found this interesting, that the part of your story about the fire department's rehab unit. I wasn't familiar with that. Can you talk a little more about the rehab unit and how it works?
Of course, yeah. It was a repurposed ambulance. They've had it for a couple years now. They've kind of decked it out with air conditioners, fans, cooling mist, to let firefighters get away from the fire that they're fighting. I mean, as you reported earlier this week, there were 2 fires on the same day with days of heat indexes over 100 degrees. So, of course, it was hot.
At about the same time, too,
Yeah.
just to make things even more complicated.
Exactly,
Yes,
yeah. So I'm sure this rehab unit came in handy during those where they let firefighters just get away from the fire, a place to take their gear off, kind of dissipate that hot hair like trapped inside. And then they've also got water, cooling towels, electrolyte replacement, like you name it, they have it in that rehab unit. It's a place to check vitals as well. I was told that to date, they've not had to treat any firefighters for heat stroke, but they've had to treat for mild heat-related illnesses. Yeah.
Understandable. All right. Also, the sound of the kids in your story was great. Can you expand a little bit on how the Early Learning Center can keep kids active when it's too hot to go outside.
Of course, yeah. They have a policy where they can't let the kids go outside if the heat index is over 95 degrees, which, as we know, that was the case for almost 15 days.
Right.
So they have a gross motor skills room that each classroom, they have about 14 classrooms, that each one is allowed to use once a day. So that audio you heard at the beginning was one of the older classrooms playing with this parachute, where they would all hold onto the edge of it and fling these toy popcorns up in the air to kind of get some activity in when they can't go outside. The staff is encouraged to be active with the kids in the classroom, whether that's dancing or yoga. They've also been able to set up obstacle courses in some of their more open spaces. And then they told me that they also have therapy equipment for kids with different developmental disabilities that they teach. So they have walkers, they have therapy swings, they have many accommodations to help kids stay active when they have to stay inside.
Yeah, sure. And I guess the same thing had happened in intense cold weather as well, but in the wintertime, which seems like, a long way off, but still. Yeah.
Exactly. And they also have like a sprinkler and a splash pad outside that each classroom is permitted to use once a week in the morning. So it's still not too hot outside, but they've got that splash pad for if kids are getting really antsy and are like, I want to go outside. So
yeah, sure. Well, Ella, why this story? Why did you put this one together?
Yeah, so it felt very on the nose. It had been hot for so long. It just felt like the right time. And I also, what a lot of people I don't think realize is that extreme heat is the deadliest extreme weather event. We hear a lot in the news about tornadoes, earthquakes, floods, and while those are deadly, extreme heat consistently has the most fatalities every year. I mean, it was said in the story, the CDC says about 700 people die every year just in the U.S. In 2023, it was reported that 2,300 people died from a heat-related injury of sorts.
Right.
So it is the deadliest weather event. So again, it did feel topical, but also I go to school. I study journalism at Indiana University, but I'm also working towards an atmospheric science minor. So I've always kind of been interested in weather. So Tim Jagielo and I had been talking about what is a feature that I could do that kind of caters to that, like an interest I had. And since I'm studying it, and since this is a journalism related internship, it felt right, and it was interesting to me, and it was relevant for the time. Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else to add that we haven't touched on here?
Yeah. I mean, as today, it's, beautiful day out, low 80s for the high. And as Jonathan Weaver said, it is going to cool down as the sun starts to set earlier and earlier. But we do kind of have hot temperatures that we're still waiting for. It's going to heat up towards the end of next week. Maybe not as bad as it has been. So thankful for the cool weather, as I'm sure a lot of people are, but to keep an eye out, because it will get hot again before it completely goes away.
Yes, indeed. We have just started August, so yes, there is still a ways to go. That's WNIN's Ella Nelson. Ella, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the Friday Wrap. It's the Friday Wrap on WNIN FM. I'm John Gibson. Thank you for joining us on this Friday. ASM Global has operated the Old National Events Plaza in downtown Evansville since 2001. Now someone else will take over in about 4 weeks. As WNIN's Tim Jagielo reported this week, officials say the goal is to make the Events Plaza more profitable.
Local tourism officials are seeking to increase overnight conferences at the Old National Events Plaza by changing who operates the facility. Starting September 1st, VenueWorks will manage the Events Plaza, taking over from ASM Global. This is the result of a nearly year-long collaborative process to keep capturing the 2% innkeeper's tax to fuel tourism in Evansville and operate the Events Plaza. Attorney for the county, Mike Schottmeyer, says the innkeepers wouldn't support the tax continuing unless the money was used more efficiently at the Events Plaza.
As we got in there and studied, last summer we started on this, as we got in there and studied, the hemorrhaging economically was greater than I think any of us thought.
The expectation is that VenueWorks, which already manages the Ford Center and Victory Theater, can improve efficiency. Tom White, president of Explore Evansville, is confident they can increase overnight conventions with VenueWorks.
VenueWorks does a tremendous job, and with the right team in place there, and within Explore Evansville with the right mission and the right incentives to get these groups to come in, I think we can have that. And I think we'll see that turn in time over the next couple of years.
ASM agreed to a wind-down contract, which the county commission approved on Tuesday. The company agreed to hand over the keys, ending the 20-plus year relationship. For WNIN News, I'm Tim Jagielo.
And Tim joins us live now here on the Friday Wrap. Tim, as always, thanks for coming in.
Of course.
All right. Well, this venue is getting new management. Why is this important?
Yeah, that's what I said. And I had to. This is one of those stories that I did not understand what it was about, or why it was important, or what the moving pieces were, or why they were talking about it.
Yeah.
But that's what I said initially. But this, to back up, this is one of the 3 major venues in downtown Evansville.
Right.
It's got multiple event spaces inside. It brings in all kinds of different events. And again, with the Ford Center and Victory Theater.
Yeah.
And so, again, ASM has been operating ONEP, as they called it, for 24 plus years. And changing management in this case, when there's contracts and such a long relationship, it's like the word divorce was used multiple times during the discussion.
Yeah, it does seem unusual.
Yeah, and their contract was going to be up in a couple of years, but not this soon. So again, this decision has come after lots and lots of meetings, lots of many parties meeting, taking it all the way up to the General Assembly at the state to make this happen. And again, VenueWorks operates the Ford Center and the Victory Theater already, and there had been kind of a described disconnect between the 2 venues that are operated by VenueWorks and then ASM operating the Old National Events Plaza, and there'd been kind of a conflicts and not the best synergy between the 3 when it comes to shows and events and everything. So the plan is for better coordination between those 3.
Right.
And so again, we're going to get into the subsidy. But, the subsidy is what supports keeping the venue up. Ticket sales don't do all that. Yeah. And so, the subsidy had reached $2 million a year at times. And that just wasn't sustainable. And VenueWorks is pledging or working towards $600,000 in the subsidy instead. So money saved, more efficiency.
Right,
and people are really excited about this in the tourism sector.
Sure. Well, maybe you can tell us a little bit about how this change came about.
Well, this starts with that 2% innkeeper's tax, which I had never heard of, but that's not hard to believe because it's a custom legislation just for this area, just for...
Right. Yeah, it's a 2% tax essentially charged to hotels and motels, that kind of thing, right?
Right, and the guests basically pay it when they pay their fees.
Right.
And that goes into supporting the tourism industry here. It goes into supporting the venue as well, ONEP, Old National Events Plaza. And so that was going to be sunsetting the end of this year.
I see.
So last year, Mike Schottmeyer and other officials are basically trying to, how can we keep this subsidy going? How can we keep this innkeeper's tax going?
Right.
And what they learned was that the hotel and lobby groups weren't going to support the tax continuing unless they examined the efficiency of and the use of the innkeeper's tax. Where is this money going?
Right.
So they said we'll consider letting it continue at the state level, but only if. So the state really wanted the cooperation between the hotels and between the county government and the tourism groups here, all working together to agree upon how to improve this thing. And so that's what they did. They said, okay, well, we're going to look into the management of Old National Events Plaza, look into the subsidy, and what they found is that generally, they were losing money every year, accruing losses. He said hemorrhaging in the legal the whole discussion, and so the General Assembly wanted to get a memorandum in order to get this tax to continue. So that's what they did.
Right. So now the goal of this new management at the Old National Events Plaza is to bring in more overnight conferences, and of course, you can tell us why that's important.
Sure, that's overnight conferences is basically where the money is. So just to put it bluntly, rock concerts and plays and comedy shows and tribute acts are great, of course. But what keeps people overnight, of course, are the conferences and conventions that keep people here for a whole weekend or even a week. In the case of like the Jugglers Festival that we just had, that's what keeps people overnight. That's what keeps them going to the restaurants, renting cars and then seeing those rock concerts after. So basically the goal is to bring in the conventions and then get them to stay and then do stuff downtown.
Right. And stay in hotels. Obviously.
And stay in hotels,
Right.
Mike Schottmeyer was talking about other facilities, the sports facilities like the Deaconess Sports Park and Goebel Soccer Complex. They make 10 times their investment just because each team brings in 20 people and their families, and each of those people basically bring $250 in new money to the area. And so that's what they want. They want to bring new money in, and that's what conventions do. And basically ASM wasn't doing that enough.
Yeah. An expression I've always heard from the tourism folks, heads in beds. I mean, that's how you get the innkeeper's tax to bring in that money. You have more people staying in the local hotels.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, so what is next in the process here?
Well, the wind down is going to continue, and I can't overstate, well, I probably can, but you can't overstate how important it is that this was an agreed upon, quote, divorce.
Yeah.
Because it could have been ugly, as divorces can be. It could have been expensive, but ASM has agreed to step down, basically. That's happening. It's going to be completed. The goal is September 1st. Meanwhile, Explore Evansville is going to be, they use the word recruiting events, conferences to this area, to Old National Events Plaza. And again, that's to increase those heads and beds thing that we're talking about. That's going to be happening. And again, once that happens, you'll have the same management company running all three major venues. And then what they're excited about is, of course, better coordination, better shows to complement the events that's going to be happening there.
All right. Well, Tim, anything else to add that we haven't touched on here?
I'm interested in seeing some shows that I want to see downtown.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Sure. Perhaps this will help boost that entire industry.
Maybe they'll bring a camera convention.
There you go. You would like that a lot,
yeah,
I'm sure. Yes, indeed. That is WNIN's Tim Jagielo. Tim, as always, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
It's the Friday Wrap on WNIN FM. I'm John Gibson. Good to have you along on this Friday. Well, joining me now is Jevin Redman with this week's Sports Chat. Good to see you, Jevin.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Thanks for being with us. Well, lots of things going on in the sports world. Let's start with the Major League Baseball trade deadlines, sort of that point where you decide who are the contenders and who are the pretenders, right?
It is, yeah. You kind of hit the stretch run now here, the final 2 months of the season, and the Chicago Cubs, with the trade deadline, they are major contenders. They're a game out for first place in the division behind the Brewers. They have quite a bit of breathing room for a wild card spot, but they really needed some pitching help, so they went out and got 3 pitchers at the trade deadline. Starting pitcher Michael Soroka, a couple relief pitchers Andrew Kittredge and Taylor Rogers, and also they got a utility player, infielder, outfielder, and Willie Castro. So the Cubs, who have a very strong roster, bolstered it some more at the deadline. They have a chance to contend for a deep playoff run. We talked some last week about the Reds and Cardinals being 50-50 in terms of would they be buyers or sellers, and the Reds, who are 3.5 games out of a wild card spot, well, they turned out to be buyers. They got really a variety of players. Third baseman Ke'Bryan Hayes from the Pirates, infielder and outfielder Miguel Andujar from the A's, and pitcher Zach Little from the Rays. So the Reds are going to try to make a run at it. They feel like they have a team to sneak in as a wild card team. Again, 3.5 games out with 2 months to go. And then just to wrap up, the Cardinals, they went into sell mode. They're 5.5 games out of a wild card spot. They unloaded pretty well their big weapons out of the bullpen. Most notably, closer Ryan Helsley went to the Mets. Relief pitcher Steven Matz to the Red Sox, and relief pitcher Phil Maton to the Rangers. So the Cardinals kind of building for the future. One notable thing about the Cardinals is they decided to hang on to their position players. They have some young talent, so they thought they can build around those guys, but they got rid of some pitchers trying to build for the future.
Yes, indeed. Well, it's been a bit of a tough trek lately for the Evansville Otters.
It has, and they really struggled right before the All-Star break, a few weeks ago, and they haven't played any better since the All-Star break, but they just got swept at home by Lake Erie Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. John, those 3 games, they're outscored 17-1.
It's no good.
But they hit the road this weekend. They're at Florence, and the Otters, the playoffs are pretty well out of the question now. They're 17 games out of first place at 24-45, but still a chance to see them several times at Bosse Field throughout August, and for Otters fans, the next time they are at home is on Tuesday night at Bosse Field.
Yes, indeed. Always a good time, even if the record's not so great. Well, let's talk a little bit about college basketball. I think you have some news in that area, right?
Yeah, so yesterday, Indiana University announced that Cody Zeller, who played for them back in 2012 and 2013, he is a Washington High School graduate, is going into their Hall of Fame. So a great honor for Cody Zeller, who had an outstanding basketball career. When he was at Washington High School, he was 2011 Indiana Mr. Basketball, went to IU, played on two very good teams. That was 56 and 16 throughout his 2 years at IU. And then Cody enjoyed an 11-year NBA career, mostly with the Charlotte Hornets or Charlotte Bobcats, depending on what time frame you're talking about. But yeah, Cody Zeller going into the IU Hall of Fame, so a great honor for him.
Yeah, and also understand you have some high school basketball news to pass along.
Yeah, just a couple of things that came out this week. Castle High School grad Isaiah Swope, who played college basketball at USI for a short time before going to Indiana State and finished up at St. Louis last year. But he signed a pro contract to play over in Germany. And then also from Wrights High School, Bailey Hape, who is a senior point guard on the girls' team. She just committed to Division I Sanford the other day. So congratulations to those two.
Yes, indeed. In pro basketball, the WNBA, the Indiana Fever, in action tonight.
They are at the Dallas Wings. They start a long road trip tonight. Tip-off is at 6:30 Central Time. And, we talked, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, about Caitlin Clark being injured. And there's still really no timeline as far as her return. But I will say the Fever, they are still in the playoff hunt. They've won 3 straight games. They're 15-12. And right now they're in 6th place. Top 8 teams make the playoffs with a month to go. So they're in a good spot in terms of the standings. And they're hoping to get Caitlin Clark back in a few weeks.
Yeah, it would be nice to have Caitlin back in time for the playoffs. Yeah. Exactly. We should also mention last night the first NFL preseason game was played.
Yeah, I feel like you blink throughout the summer and all of a sudden fall football is back. But they had the Hall of Fame game, which kicks off NFL preseason in Canton, Ohio. Of course, the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies will be this weekend. But last night the Chargers beat the Lions 34-7, and then this week is when a lot of the teams get going with their first preseason game. The Colts will play on Thursday at the Baltimore Ravens at 6 o'clock. And so about a month away from the NFL regular season starting. And John, for high school football, 3 weeks from tonight is the first game.
There you go. And with this cooler weather, folks might be starting to think about high school football at this point. That is WNIN's Jevin Redman. As always, Jevin, thank you so much.
Yep, thanks, John.
It's the Friday Wrap on WNIN FM. I'm John Gibson. Good to have you along. Well, time now for the Weekend Notebook. Many things happening this weekend. And, of course, we should have beautiful weather for events this weekend as well, including this one, the Germania Manicor Volksfest. The annual festival at the club on Fulton Avenue continues through tomorrow night. You'll find German food, German music, a variety of beer, and your yearly opportunity to do the chicken dance. Admission is free and open to all ages at lunchtime, but after 2 p.m., admission is $5, cash only, and you must be at least 21 with 2 IDs. Again, that's the Germania Manicor Volksfest continuing tonight and tomorrow at the club on Fulton Avenue on Evansville's west side. Well, it's August 1st. That means it's a First Friday happening at Haney's Corner Arts District. You'll find dozens of local artists and vendors, food trucks, live music, and more from 5:30 to 9 p.m. tonight. You'll also find live music at Patchwork Central on nearby Washington Avenue. Once again, beautiful weather for First Friday, Germania Manicor, and any outdoor event happening this weekend. Also happening tonight down in the Haney's Corner area, it's the First Presbyterian Church First Friday concert. Molly Patrick is the featured performer. She's an organist originally from Minneapolis. She holds a bachelor's degree in organ performance from Brigham Young University, and she served as music director and organist at St. Mary's Episcopal Church in Anchorage, Alaska. Patrick's performance starts at 7 p.m. at First Pres on 2nd Street in downtown Evansville. Well, moving on to tomorrow, Saturday, it's the Franklin Street Bazaar. It wouldn't be Saturday this time of year without the bazaar on West Franklin Street. You'll find growers, vendors, food trucks, free yoga, and more in and around the library grounds in the 2000 block of West Franklin Street from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Once again, should be great weather for the Franklin Street Bazaar happening tomorrow on West Franklin Street. Also happening tomorrow, it's the EVPL Foundation Summer Book Sale. This sale offers thousands of books, audiobooks, CDs, and DVDs with prices ranging from 50 cents to $2. Some specialty items, we're told, might cost a little more. Credit cards are available, or credit card payment is available with a minimum purchase of $10. The book sale is from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. tomorrow and noon to 3 on Sunday at Washington Square Mall on South Green River Road. Proceeds from the summer book sale help fund library programs and projects. Again, the EVPL Foundation Summer Book Sale happening at Washington Square Mall on South Green River Road. Also happening on Saturday, the Music City Dueling Pianos at Warehouse 410. This 21 and over event is described as a high-octane bash that combines a rock show, comedy show, and outrageous party all in one. The audience can make requests, sing along, dance along, and yes, thump the tables. Tickets for Music City Dueling Pianos are $37.50 for seated general admission and $25 for standing room at Warehouse 410 on Carpenter Street here in downtown Evansville. That's just south of the Lloyd Expressway. Looking ahead to Sunday, we've got some Sunday jazz at the Boca Lounge. Dirk Quinn will perform on the Boca stage from 2:30 to 5 Sunday afternoon. Admission is free. Again, that's Dirk Quinn performing Sunday jazz at the Boca Lounge Sunday afternoon. If you have an event that you'd like us to mention here on the Friday Wrap, just send it to me via email at jgibson, that's the letter J, Gibson, at WNIN.org, and we will do our best to get your event on the Friday Wrap here on the Weekend Notebook. I'd like to thank all of our guests today on the Friday Wrap, including Tom Langhorne of the Evansville Courier and Press. Also, a big thanks to WNIN's Ella Nelson and Tim Jagielo. It was good to hear their stories and their comments from the week. Also, a big thanks to Jevin Redman, not only for joining us for the sports chat, but also for engineering today's show. We also certainly express support to Indiana Public Broadcasting Stations. Also, a big thanks to WNIN's Mariah Winnie for social media support. And, of course, a big thank you to listeners like you. It's only with your support that programs like the Friday Wrap can come your way on WNIN FM. Well, I hope you and yours have a fine, fine weekend. Enjoy the weather, and we will see you again. Not next week. I'm taking next week off, actually, so the Friday Wrap will be back in 2 weeks here on your public radio station. For this Friday, I'm John Gibson, and that's a wrap.